The countdown is on, but you're not alone. This is Countdown to College, your weekly guide from Education Quest Foundation, here to help you plan, apply, and pay for college one step at a time. I'm your host, Gage, and today I am happy to be joined by Amy Gade, Director of Admissions for Wayne State College. Hi, Amy. Thank you for joining us on this episode.
Hey, hi, everybody. I'm excited to be here.
Now, spring is just on the horizon, hopefully sooner rather than later. And this is the perfect time to start going on campus tours. So to help you get prepared, Amy and I are going to talk about what matters most during college visits, why students should be what students should be looking out for, and how students can find their best fit. So Amy, why don't we just start off with kind of an overview? Why is visiting a college campus such an important part of the college decision process for students?
Yeah. So, Gage, I want to back up by just stating I've been in the admissions profession for 18 years. So I've been doing this work for a really long time, and campus visits through the entirety of that time have always remained one of the absolute most important parts of the college search process. Because visiting campus is really how you envision yourself on that campus. You know, you picture yourself living in that residence hall or taking classes in those classrooms, eating in that dining hall, or even just walking, that campus. I know a lot of times students have been on college campuses before. They've been there for sporting events or music contests or business competition or FCCLA competition. And that's awesome. It's great anytime you're on a college campus. But when you're on a college campus for those things, you're focused on those things. You're not thinking about, if this was my home away from home, how would it feel? And so that campus tour really puts you in the mindset of all distractions aside, picture myself as a student here. Is this the right fit for me? So you're going to get to meet the people. You're going to get to learn firsthand about the campus and the programs. You get to see the spaces through the eyes of a current student tour guide, but also really your own eyes as a possible student, and really kind of try it on, to see if it's right for you. It's kind of a non-pressure filled way to sort of try a college out before you commit to it. So definitely very, very critical part of the process.
Yeah, I would say just my own college search process, college visits were probably the number one thing that really helped me come to that decision. Yeah. Just because there's only so much that, photos and videos can do. And those are great. Don't get me wrong. But being there, like you said, actually being able to kind of try it on. It's almost like job shadowing almost.
Yeah. Yep. I always say, you're not going to buy a pair of jeans without slipping them on first. College is a much bigger purchase than a pair of jeans. So why would you do that without trying it on to see if it's the right fit for you too?
Now, Amy, let's talk about timing. When should students start going on college visits, and does that timing kind of change based on their grade level?
Yeah, I really think there is no one-size-fits-all answer necessarily for this question. But I think fall or spring of junior year is really a great time to get kind of an initial visit under your belt. At that point, you don't really know what to expect. So even if you can just do one to understand what a campus visit really is, what it all includes, what to expect, what kind of questions to ask, that can really help. I think time of year, that's entirely up to you and your own schedule. I think most campuses are going to offer year-round campus tours, with the exception of special times of year, spring break, winter break, finals week, are times I know that we don't offer visits, but we offer them during the school year. We offer them over the summer. But I just want to remind you, keep in mind, if you're going to visit over summer, it is going to feel different. It's going to look a little bit different with less students and less activity. So that's just something that has to be accounted for in your overall impression. If you're somebody that can sort of put that aside, then summer's an absolutely appropriate time. Same with weather. If it's a particularly cold or rainy day, and you don't like that, try to separate your feelings about the weather from your feelings about the campus. Personally, I'm not a cold weather person, so I will not be touring campus basically from November to March. And I'm going to slide campus tours in before that or after that, because I don't know that I always can put the weather aside and really keep my feelings about the campus separate, because I hate being cold that bad. So it's just something to, think about what works for you, what can work in your own schedule. And again, just how do you separate the weather from what you saw or what you felt or what you experienced while you were on campus? Personally, at Wayne State College, we always say we welcome you to visit as many times as you need to be confident in your decision to attend. So also keep in mind, it might not just be one time on that particular campus. You might be here 2 or 3 times just to get all your questions answered and really feel solid about your choice with that particular institution. So don't hesitate. If you need to come back and see some additional things, we always welcome that here at Wayne State.
Yeah, those are great points because I know, especially in at least Lincoln, I'm sure other college towns in Nebraska, the difference between summer and like school in session is so different, even just from like the town perspective. So it's great to really get yourself on campus multiple times if you can, if it's possible.
Yeah. I think summer's a great time to really see the bones, just to be able to see the campus, maybe without all the distraction of the students and the activity and the involvement. But then I would really encourage you to come back when school is in session as that chance to more see the social atmosphere, the students, navigating between buildings to go to classes. That's going to help you sort of see it bare bones, but then see it again lively with interaction and activity and kind of really get a true sense of what that campus life is like at that particular school.
Now, when students are arranging these college visits, what types of visit options are typically available?
Yeah, so lots of different options. I think the best thing to do is start on a college's website. I know, for example, on our website, we have all of the visit options available. But what I really like about our website is that it's got a literal calendar. So you're going to be able to see the available dates and then kind of cross-reference those with your own calendar. Whereas if you call, you're kind of like, what about this day? What about this day? What about that day? What about this time? So being able to see that calendar is just makes it super easy. You're going to be able to choose the date and time you want, and then fill out all the necessary kind of pre-visit questions right on the form. But again, if that doesn't work, you can call. You can reach out to your admissions counselor, and we're happy to help. As far as types of options are concerned, I think most schools would offer like the traditional individual campus tour. What makes that a little bit unique is that it's likely going to be just like you and your family with the tour guide. So it really offers that kind of one-on-one experience. If you have some very specific things you want to do or see, or ask about when you're on tour, that would be a really great option for you because it's very personalized. We also offer a lot of more open house style options. This just means that you're going to be one of many people visiting that campus that day, which means when it comes to tour time, you might be in a small group. Again, not quite as individualized, but it is also a little less pressure filled. If you're somebody that's a little bit nervous about what to ask or feeling like you don't have any questions to ask, it can really take the pressure off, just being able to hear kind of what other people are asking or doing. I know at our institution, we also offer a couple specialty type of visits. So our specialty visits include like transfer specific visit programs, Spanish speaking family programs where the tours and the conversations are delivered entirely in Spanish. And then we also offer some weekend options because we know it can be hard to get out of school or for parents or guardians to take a day off of work. So we want to offer some weekend options too, just to give that option. Again, it is a little bit different visiting campus on a weekend. You're not necessarily always able to talk to faculty and do some of those other things that you might during the week. But it is a great option, just providing a chance for you to get on campus.
Yeah. Now, Amy, let's say a student has never been on a campus tour before, maybe hasn't even read about one, not really sure what the process looks like. So what can students expect from like a typical college visit once they're on campus?
Yeah, I think that's a great question because you really don't know what to expect until you've been on one. And so laying out those sort of expectations, I think, can really help a student feel better about, what they can be prepared to hear about or do or see when they get to a college campus. So, in general, I think a typical college visit is going to include some sort of college overview time, in admissions information session, Wayne State 101, if you want to call it, where we're really going to just overview, the campus, the community, the types of programs we offer, the support services. We're going to talk about facilities, and then we're really going to dive into the processes. So we'll walk a student through, how they would apply for admission and what we would require of them, how they do the federal financial aid application, supplemental scholarship application, really all the way to the point of enrollment. So what does that process look like so that when they walk out of that room, they really have some to-dos in their hand? I know exactly what I need to do based on where I'm at in this process. Then it's going to include a tour of campus. That's typically going to include seeing into a few residence halls. Probably don't expect to see them all because an average campus tour on our campus, for example, is about an hour. We have 7 residence halls. If we were to show you all 7, that would be it. That would be all that could fit within that hour. So we're probably just going to show you a couple to give you a sense of what living on our campus looks like. We'll show you some classrooms to give you an idea of what that space looks like, size, just give you a feel for the academic experience. And then we'll show off, the common spaces. So we get you through like library and common study spaces, our student center and the dining halls. We'll show wellness facilities, anything that would be just typical for an average student on our campus that they would utilize or access. And then a campus tour could potentially include a visit with a faculty or staff member in the student's desired academic interest area. I mean, that's something that our campus includes in almost all campus tours. Not every college does, but it's a great chance to talk with faculty about the program of study, what classes would I be taking, what are the cool or unique things about this major at your institution, are there clubs or organizations that students get involved in, what are the job outcomes of recent graduates. So, being in front of faculty is a really cool opportunity. You're only going to get to quiz them once. So come with your hardest hitting questions because they're going to pay you back by quizzing you plenty of times once you're a student there. So I love that faculty visit. I think it's a really good idea ahead of the visit to just be sure that you've jotted down any questions you want to be sure you get answered or any things for sure you want to see on that campus, because you kind of get here and then you start going and you just are kind of trying to go with the flow. And then you're like, wait a minute, I really wanted to see this, but I totally forgot to ask about it. So just making sure that they've thought about anything that would be really critical to know or do or see or get answered while they're on campus is really helpful.
Now, I mean, I know we just touched on this just a little bit, but I do want to go a little bit more in depth. Is it better for students to go on, this big group tour, or is that more an individual experience more beneficial?
Yeah, I think honestly, any experience is better than no experience at all. So we're happy to host students on campus really in whatever format works. For example, maybe it's hard for your parents or guardians to miss work. Or you don't want to miss school because you've got a dual credit class. And if you miss, you're going to be behind. Then if coming on a scheduled group tour with your school is available, go for it. Like, we would strongly encourage to take that opportunity when it gets here. I think what we see more times than not is the student maybe coming on a group tour with their school or college access partner brings them on a group tour. That gives that sort of initial introduction. I'm introduced to Wayne State College now. I really like it. So now I want to come back on another campus tour where I might bring my parents, guardians, or other supporters. Back to whether you go on that bigger kind of small group tour or individualized, I think truly comes down to you. Are you someone that, again, has a lot of specific, very unique questions? Then individual 100% is the way to go. If you are feeling a little unsure about what you would ask, or you just don't feel like you have any specific questions, then I think either option would really be great for you. I think a group setting could be fine because again, you'll hear what other people are asking and then that might spark some questions, but it would take off the pressure to where you feel like you have to sort of carry this conversation with this tour guide who's kind of staring you at the face, or staring you in the face looking for questions. So it really is whatever works. Again, you do what works for you based on your availability, your schedule, the schedule of your parents or guardians, the opportunities that are provided to you, maybe by your school. We're just happy to have you on campus in any way and in any form.
Yeah, that was my experience actually, was I went first on a school group tour, which was nice because I was a little nervous. I was like, I don't really know what to expect. And from that, I was like, okay, I feel a bit better about this process. Now I feel like I can go on that individual tour and kind of ask what I want to ask.
And I think it's kind of helpful because you don't always want to feel like you're dragging your parents or guardians on all of these different things, like where you're unsure if this is really the place for you. So if you had the chance to see it through a group tour and now you're kind of like, no, I'm feeling something, this school is making me feel something, then that's a great chance to then kind of bring parents or guardians back to showcase what it is that you saw. And again, I think that second tour will help you know if what you were feeling the first time was real and authentic, or it was just exciting because it was the first campus tour you'd been on. I think it can really help assure you how you're feeling about that school.
Yeah, that leads right into my next question, actually, which is, should parents or guardians come along on college visits, and what role should they play in the process?
Yeah, such a great question. Each family situation is really so unique. So I don't feel that there's a perfect answer to this question. However, I think that bringing someone along on a campus tour is helpful. That can be parent, that can be guardian, that could be sibling, that could be aunt or uncle, teacher, a friend, truly anyone who is supporting you in this pursuit of higher education is a perfectly acceptable person to bring along with you. The reason why I think it's helpful to have somebody along with you is that it's a lot to hear. There's a lot of important things being talked about, and it's hard to know that you heard it all. And so just having a second set of ears to hear those important dates and deadlines and details, I think is really, really helpful. And then someone to kind of bounce things off of. Did I hear that right? Now that we're on the car ride home, I feel like I remember them saying this. Is that how you interpreted that? It's just nice to have somebody to kind of converse with. As far as the role that person should play, again, very unique to the individual family situation. In an ideal world, those supporters live in information gathering space. They're just listening. They're just taking it all in, just like you. And then hopefully they're gently prodding you on, what were your thoughts? What were your feelings? They might be encouraging you to, jot down some initial impressions. Are there any concerns you have? Or are there any things that we didn't get our questions answered about that we need to follow up on? Or maybe if you've been on another campus tour elsewhere, they can kind of help you correlate the two. How do these compare? What are your feelings now that you've been on multiple campus tours? So I just think someone who won't take the reins, but will gently kind of keep you moving forward. Maybe remind you of what you said was important to you. How does what you saw relate to that? Just somebody who can be supportive through that decision-making process.
Yeah, that's great. Now, when it comes to the actual questions that you're asking on these tours, which can be a whole intimidating factor in itself, what are just some good questions that students should be asking during a college visit, and where can they kind of find maybe some other ideas ahead of time?
Yeah, honestly, there is no stupid question on a campus tour. I think the reality is, people like me in admissions or even a student tour guide, like we live and breathe this every day. And so it's easy to forget what you didn't know before you found yourself, as a college student or working in admissions. And that's why there is no stupid question. On the surface, a simple Google search could lead you to a wealth of amazing questions to ask on a campus tour. Some of my favorites have to do with, asking the tour guide about their experiences at the institution. So for example, what's your favorite thing about this institution? What's your favorite place to study? Where's your favorite place to eat on campus? but also about their life at that institution. So, what do you like to do in town? How'd you meet your friends? When you're not studying, what are you finding yourself doing? You seem like you've got it all together. So, how did you find the clubs and organizations and the things that you're involved in? Because let's be honest, you don't step on a college campus in day one, you're involved in eight things. It takes
Mhm.
time to find those things. And a student tour guide, I think, would love to share their stories about, how they kind of found their way into those things. And then I think just general advice. So remember that a campus tour guide was in your shoes not very long ago, a lot more recently than I was in your shoes. And so asking them just general advice things. So, like, what's something that you wish you would have known or done when you were a senior in high school? What's something that you didn't do very well your senior year? Or what's something that you did do really, really well so that I don't, miss out on that opportunity? I think in general, people love to help. People love to be asked about their own personal experiences. And so that's what you want to do. You want to get a good perspective of what the student is experiencing, what their experiences have been like at that institution or within that community, how they feel about moving away from home for the first time, how they navigate that. Did they ever feel homesickness? If they tell you no, that's a lie.
Yeah.
Everybody feels homesickness. And so then ask them, how'd you navigate that? What things helped you through that? There's just anything from general advice to very specific things about that institution are totally normal questions, great questions to ask. I know at Wayne State, we give students, as they're touring campus, a map so that they can kind of understand where they're all going or kind of make it make sense as they're walking around this big campus. And on the back panel of that brochure is actually a list of questions because we do understand that you probably are like, I have no idea what to ask. And so, if nothing else, just use our basic questions as that start. And my hope is that as you start conversing with that college student and you're starting to, feel a little bit more comfortable around them, the questions will just come to you very naturally, and that you'll feel very open, just asking them kind of whatever's on your mind.
Yeah, that was my favorite part, was getting to talk with, another student and being like, okay, where do I cut through the campus to get to this building the quickest? Like, that's the important
Exactly.
info.
They really are the experts. And so, yeah, you want the tips on, okay, once I go here, what food do I avoid in the cafeteria? Or what's your favorite food in the cafeteria? Or like, where do I get my hair cut? Just basic things like that. It's just fun to share that time with a peer and
Mhm.
someone who's kind of living it right now.
Now, Amy, what are just like your general, like, top tips for students wanting to make the most of their time on campus beyond just like the official tour?
Yeah, I think definitely, again, thinking about what's important to you to do or see or take in while you're on that campus. And then let us know if possible ahead of time. If there's extra people you want to talk to or extra things you want to meet about while you're on campus. It's not uncommon for us to have students request to talk to more than one academic area, or maybe they want to talk to this academic area, but they're thinking about participating in music or theater, or they want to talk to a particular sports team while they're here on campus. Anything that we can know ahead of time just gives us that time to try to work out those details and make sure we have a great schedule and agenda for you. But even if you think of it like on the fly while you're walking around campus or when you first check in, just as soon as you know it, let us know so that we have time to try to kind of make the best of your time and your experience on campus. And then I think the other thing is just don't be afraid to tell the tour guide what you want to see. They're going to have a general plan. I'm going to show you this and this and this. But if they are kind of walking past a building with no plans to go in that, and that building is, sparking some interest in you, just say, hey, is there any way we can go in there? Because this is your experience. And so while they have a general plan, that's just the kind of guide. But this is your tour. This is for you to make sure that you have seen everything that you need to see while you're on campus and that you feel comfortable as possible. And then just Ask the questions, ask all the questions, so many questions, no question unturned. We don't want you to, get home and then be like, oh, shoot, I should have asked about that. But if you do, you can still ask that question then by
Hmm.
emailing your admissions counselor or, calling the admissions office. So, anytime a question pops up, don't think you have to be the expert. That's what people like me and my team are here to do, is to be that expert and to just help you answer questions so that you don't feel lost about anything to do with the process or with our campus specifically.
Now, Amy, I am sometimes a person where info will go in one ear and go right out the other immediately. So for some students, should students be taking notes or like photos during their visit? And how can that kind of help them later on in their
Yeah.
process?
I mean, Gage, rightfully so. There is literally so much information being shared while on tour. And I always say that sometimes as the student, you're really thinking about, would I fit in here? Would I belong here? Does anybody look like me? Does that person look friendly? Oh, I think I could be friends with them. And sometimes your parents and guardians are thinking about dates, deadlines, details,
Hmm.
costs, you know, so it's kind of two separate sets of thoughts or concerns. And so for me, if notes or photos would help you keep it straight between different campuses, absolutely. Absolutely, please do it. Very common to see mom or student have a notebook with a pen. Do they take a lot of notes? I don't necessarily think so, but having it just in case. Also very common during like the info session to see somebody screenshotting or taking photos of the PowerPoint presentation that we're giving. Now, we give students an information folder when they leave campus, so they don't really need to take photos of our cost chart because that's going to be in their packet when they leave. But if they feel better knowing that they've got it and that they can reflect back on it, then absolutely. I think at a minimum, making notes on the ride home would be really helpful. While it's fresh in your brain, what did we see? What didn't we see? And what
Hmm.
are our initial reactions? What is my gut saying? What did I like? What didn't I like? What's my favorite residence hall? Oftentimes you're going to visit campus before the housing application is even open. And so by the time the housing application's open, you're like, man, did I see Maury or did I see Anderson or was it Stearns? You've lost
Hmm.
track in your brain. So even if you circle on the campus map the couple tour buildings that you went into, that may help. If you've been on other campus tours, just give it a comparison score, and maybe jot down some things that you need answered now that you've been on the tour. Again, Google could probably lead you to like a campus tour evaluation form if you really want to be official. Could print a couple of those out ahead of time so that you're using the same format to help kind of compare things similarly across each institution that you visit. But I think definitely at least jotting down some initial reactions immediately as you hop in the car while it's really fresh in your brain is helpful. I know that on our campus, we do a follow-up phone call about a week after your tour. And that week is very strategic because we want to give you some time to kind of have let it all soaked in. And now for you to think about what didn't you get answered or what questions have come up since that campus tour. And so that follow-up phone call is a great chance to just say, hey, now that I've seen it, I need to know a little bit more about this, or can you explain that? It's a good chance to just let it sit for a minute and then bring it back up and say, okay, now I have a couple questions about these things. So
Hmm.
um, again, initial reactions would be very helpful.
Okay. Amy, I have one final question for you, and it kind of leads in from the last question. So when it comes to comparing schools, which hopefully you've gone on, a number of campus visits just to get a perspective of everything, how can these college visits kind of help students compare their schools and figure out which one might be their best fit?
Yeah, it sounds silly, but it really comes down to a feeling. So a campus visit is what helps a student get a feel for the institution, from the housing and the dining plan to campus life and student spaces. It helps you determine if you can envision yourself in those facilities, in that major, and just in general on that campus. Is that academic program a right match for your interests, but really that desired career outcome that you're looking for? And you're often going to know within the first few minutes or first hour if it feels right for you. And it's really hard to explain to people what right feels like or what that feeling is. Gage and I could go on the exact same campus tour and have two totally different feelings about the campus that could both lead us to choosing Wayne State College. And so it's so crazy what that feeling is, but like I promise you'll feel it and you'll just know. And so 9 times out of 10, when we ask current students, ultimately, why did you choose Wayne State? It just felt right. Like when I was on my campus tour, I just felt like this was where I could see myself, or I just felt at home here, or the tour guide helped me feel like I was already a member of the community. I don't know what those feelings are, but a campus tour and knowing you're going to make that really big choice, it invokes a certain set of feelings. And I think when you know, you'll know. But I also want to say, if you don't have that feeling, because I'm thinking back to wedding dress shopping and everyone says you'll just know. And I don't know if I had that feeling. But at the end of the day, you will make the choice that ultimately is the right one for you. And it will work out. It will work out. So the campus tour is just what helps you think about all of the things that are important to you, what feels right for you, and if it's this institution or not.
Yeah, that's funny. I was trying to think of how I would answer this question. I was like, I don't know. I guess I kind of just felt like I knew, and that's the best way I can describe it. And it's not a good explanation.
Which feels so unfair, to tell a high school student, like, you'll just know, you'll just feel something. But I really think that's the truth. And what you'll feel might be something different than what somebody else feels. And that's okay. The college decision-making process is a very personal process. That's something that I guess didn't really come up in any of my questions. And it's important that you think about what's important to you and what's a fit for you, and not necessarily what's a fit for your best friend or your boyfriend or your parents or guardians. And even if you can't explain it to them, as long as they'll support you in that choice, it's important that you follow what feels right for you.
Okay, well, that wraps us up. Thank you again, Amy, for joining us.
Of course. Such a fun topic, such an important process. And so we just encourage you, visit campus as much and as often as you can, and as many as you can, to help you find the absolute best fit possible.
And to our audience, if you ever need help with anything college related, you can contact an Education Quest office near you for free help. You can find our contact information or schedule an appointment on educationquest.org. While you are there, you can sign up for the weekly Countdown to College email that is filled with college tips and tricks. And finally, just help us get this message out to as many students and families as possible by subscribing to this podcast on your favorite platform and hitting the like button on this episode. Thank you for watching and listening, and we will see you next week.